Kenya's President William Ruto says that I am mad. Not just me, but many, many other Kenyans.
Anybody opposing vaccination to eliminate FMD and PPR is simply mad and unreasonable and possibly stupid.
The president has unknowingly complimented us because, as the great Thomas Sankara said, you cannot carry out fundamental change without a certain amount of madness. We are seeking fundamental change that will ensure our food sovereignty because it's under attack. Here's how. It's not often that Bill Gates and Jeff Bezos team up on a project with global implications. So why have they come together? This will shock you. They are targeting millions of cows across Africa, your cows. In Kenya, there's a plan to vaccinate 22 million cows from January 2025. Other African countries are also targeted. Consequently, there's a storm brewing in the stomachs of our cows. This storm supposedly stems from the fatting of cows. You see, when cows fat, they produce methane, a lethal greenhouse gas that exacerbates climate change. These two billionaires, Gates and Bezos, together with dozens of other Western entities, say that vaccinated cows will now produce less methane. But is this truly about saving the planet? Or is something much darker at play? Meet Archaea Bio, a Boston-based startup, and its allies like Powerbright Institute in England. Backed by millions of dollars from Gates and Bezos, they aim to vaccinate African cattle to suppress methane emissions. They claim that these vaccines are a cost-effective solution to combat climate change. But who benefits from this, really? While they tout environmental protection, these interventions raise alarming questions in three critical areas. Firstly, these vaccinations undermine our food sovereignty and exert control over Africa's agricultural systems. African farmers have nurtured their cattle for centuries, passing down sustainable practices from generation to generation. Now foreign corporations want to inject our cows with experimental vaccines, supposedly for the greater good. But this means relinquishing control over our food systems to the West. Bill Gates himself has admitted that livestock is one of the cheapest protein sources globally. So why is Africa being turned into a testing ground? These reeks of exploitation, not partnership. Secondly, these methane-reducing vaccines are not without risks. They aim to disrupt the natural microbial ecosystems in cows' stomachs. What happens if these alterations harm the health of these animals? And if this trickles down into the food chain, how will it affect the health of Africans? These reeks of playing God with our livestock and potentially with our lives. Thirdly, livestock emissions account for a mere 4% of global warming. Meanwhile, Africa suffers from massive industrial pollution and exploitation of our resources. Yet instead of addressing these pressing issues, the West tells us that cow fats are the problem. This narrative distracts from real solutions, placing the burden on African farmers while mega corporations continue to pollute unchecked. Corporations from the West. We as Africans must reject this narrative and demand solutions that respect our sovereignty, our health, and our ecosystems. The fight against climate change should not be a new front of neocolonial exploitation. This is not just about cows, it's about control. It's about who gets to decide the future of Africa's resources and people.